everyone. Welcome to another episode of OpsCast brought to you by marketingops.com, powered by all the Mo pros out there. I'm your host, Michael Hartmann, flying solo today. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be exploring how customer journey mapping, segmentation, and omni-channel strategy comes to life with lessons pulled from both B2C and B2B worlds. As you know, we tend to get a lot of B2B examples, so I'm excited to get some B2C examples here. So joining me today is my guest, Pradeep Manivannan, Martech Consultant at Academy Sports and Outdoors, among other things. He's held roles at eBay, Salesforce, and Nordstrom, and brings a unique perspective that blends deep technical experience with strategic marketing operations. We're going to dive into what it really takes to build journey-based experiences from scratch, how to connect data across channels, and what B2B teams can learn from consumer-focused environments. So, Pradeep, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for that introduction. That's really helpful. So just to let me introduce myself, or let me give some more context here about my experience, and then I'll directly dive into the actual
Go for it.
questions. Yeah, sure. So by this time, you guys know my name, Pradeep Manivannan. So currently, I'm a Martech architect slash consultant at Academy Sports and Outdoors. But as Michael said, I used to work at Nordstrom, which is a very luxury retailer here in Seattle, Washington, and then eBay, Salesforce, mostly providing B2C kind of solutions for all our clients. So during my Salesforce days, I used to be a Martech solutions architect for Microsoft's and Boeing's of the world here in Seattle, Washington. And then prior to that, I was at eBay, where it was like I was in the B2B business, but we were even doing some consultations or consultative service for B2C as well. So that was my eBay experience. But prior to that, I was at Cisco and doing consulting at Tata Consultancy Services. And that's how I built my foundational experience. And then Cisco is the one which led me to dive into this Martech stuff and all those kind of stuff. So currently, post Nordstrom, I thought, let me try to get into the startup world and do something. And then I got into this healthcare startup. I was at Lumanity. It's a private equity based startup in New York. And we were trying to work with all the pharmaceutical companies like AbbVie, Aveos, and then try to build an omni-channel system, not just a one-term solution, to run a very scalable customer journey campaigns for all the HCPs, healthcare professionals, and doctors. So I have a mix of B2C and B2B, but as Michael said, it's at the end of the day, it's just customers. I'm going to get into those details, but right now it's for Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm working for a very interesting project there where they are trying to integrate all the point of sale and digital to the omni-channel system, and then we are going to run a very kind of cross-channel journeys across mobile and email and several other digital channels as well. So that's I just started it, so it's interesting so far. So
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Well, and we were talking before we started recording that because you thought I might not be aware of Academy, but they're well known here down in Texas, and it is that time of year when they are extremely busy. So you got football season and hunting season all happening at one time. It's they get people doing both.
Yes. Agreed. No, they are pretty famous in down south. So their headquarters is in Katy, Texas. So I usually travel there. So I was there until last week. So I'm going to travel next week as well. The leadership is great, and they have close to 310 stores or something around down south to Charlotte, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, around that area.
Yeah.
So there is lesser penetration in the West Coast, but they are aiming for a huge growth in the next 1 or 2 years. They're doing a lot of interesting stuff there for sure.
Yeah. So for our listeners who are not familiar where Katy, Texas is, it's a Houston suburb.
Houston, yes.
Yeah. So I'm in Dallas, but very familiar with them. So, all right. Well, let's you said you've worked with a lot of those B2B and B2C kinds of organizations. Why don't we start with this? Like, what are you, like you said, customers are customers kind of, and I tend to generally agree, but what do you see as some of the major similarities and differences between those two environments, especially when it comes to how you approach marketing operations?
Sure. That's a good question. So let me answer this one by one. I think I'm going to talk about the similarities first and then the differences, and I'm going to talk about the recent trends happening in the marketing operations side. Similarities, as you said, like in the sense, I think One thing is, whether it's B2B or B2C, the company is interested in knowing who the customer is, KYC, know your customer, and then they just want to make sure the customer is in safe hands, and then they just want to make sure the whole customer journey is all plotted, and then make sure each of these touch points, whether it's B2B or whether it's an healthcare side of the business or normal Microsoft kind of a enterprise software kind of a business. Microsoft is interesting. It's more B2B and B2C combined.
Yeah.
So they just want to make sure each of these touch points are connected, and there is a coherent marketing messages happening between all these touch points. So that's one similarity for sure. The other similarity is, I'm seeing in recent times, at least for the past 3, 4 years, more and more companies, especially the leadership, C-suite, they are trying to invest more on the marketing technology and marketing operation side. But there's always this confusion of, hey, is it just creative madman kind of a world, or is it just art and science combined kind of the world right now? So I think it's Martech, as the name says, it's both technology and marketing combined. So it's more art and science combined now. That's one thing. And then leadership is trying to understand, hey, this is not mundane campaign operations or something. There is a strategic element there. And whether it's B2B or B2C, I see that as a common element. And that's something happening. And that's something happening both in the B2B and B2C world as well. Um, I think that's on the similarity side. On the differences side, B2C, one clear thing, as I I come from as a, I started as a campaign operations person. So for B2B, every single customer is precious, and they are like, if for an healthcare side of the business, if you're losing
Right.
one doctor, you might lose close to at least 500K to 600K revenue, whether it's a cancer, away of
Yeah.
pharmaceuticals. For example, like their list is like 10,000 or 15,000 doctors. But if you lose one doctor for some reason, because of the email fatigue or some sort of a thing, you lose the doctor and then you lose the revenue. So B2B is very sensitive in that case.
Yeah.
B2C, for example, Nordstrom, we used to run multiple campaigns, BOGO and all those kind of stuffs, flash sales, merchandising sales, year-end sales, and all those kind of stuffs. Even if a customer opts out, there is not that much sensitivity towards the B2C thing. But B2C is like they want to tap into how the real life customer behaves, Gen Zs and Gen X and all these different segments at the top level, and then like exclusively for men, women's fashion, watches, and all these subcategories involved as well. So B2C is even more deeper, and then they go to the actual tail end and make sure that the customers are there, and then we are trying to bring them to the digital ecosystem or offline platform or brick and mortar or whatever, and they just want to have this omni-channel experience, because that's one portion as well. So that's the difference. And B2B, there is always this budgeting discussion there, banned those days, budget
Oh,
authority.
right. Yeah. Okay. Like
Yes.
the client or customer budget.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Customer
Yeah.
budget, and then let's say if you're trying to sell a enterprise software or something like that, you got to talk to VP of sales, and there's this the usual uh, the usual nurturing element, and then there are the users who are actually using the software or product or whatsoever, and then we may need to just have a one-on-one sales calls or something like that to get to the platform as well. That's all on the sales off side, but marketing's job is to make sure from the top down, hey, are we trying to have a right message in the B2B platform? The value prop and everything is clearly communicated so that our enterprise software users can come to our platform and get a one stop shop answers for all these questions. So that's
Yeah.
the difference in the B2B. But tying these two things, what I'm seeing is there are more and more marketing operations technology people are hired in a company. For example, even Academy Sports, they are like, hey, we are not just CDP. They used to call themselves as a CDP team. Now they are like, no, we are Martech
Ah.
team. We are Martech team. They're trying to advertise themselves or trying to propagate that message so that we are not just CDP having a treasure data and stitching the data ID resolution. We are doing more than that. We are trying to connect to marketers and trying to promote this and display the attributes. We are going to work with the SMS partners, list track, and all these several other partners and the digital partners too, and then making sure that hey, our decentralized team is going to help you for any sort of martech needs, whether it's pure creativity based landing page updates or anything of that sort, to the actual data reports or any sort of analytical reports as well. So
Yeah.
that's something happening in the industry for sure.
So it's interesting to me. One of the first points you talked about essentially is one that I see is like the scale, right? So the big
Mhm.
difference, one of the biggest differences, obviously, like the volume of stuff, right? In B2B tends to be relatively small compared to B2C.
Yeah,
Um, and it's more complicated, right? The relationships, the connection
correct.
points. There's a somewhat of a similarity between call it like buying groups, right, on the B2B side versus householding
Mhm.
in the B2C side, right? Um, but in general, I think B2C is simpler from that standpoint. There's a little more of a direct tie to purchases. I know it's not completely direct, I mean, maybe more so with e-commerce. But I think it's interesting that maybe I'm just sort of hitting on. I liked your idea, your point about in the B2B world, right? Losing one potential prospect, there's a like a
Mhm.
pretty significant cost or potential potential revenue loss, right? That is associated with that. It's an interesting way of thinking about it. It hadn't really occurred to me. The other one, which is toward the end there, it feels like, and I think it picked it up because you said that team at Academy I think had initially talked about themselves as a CDP team, right?
Yeah.
Which is basically a technology first mindset,
Mhm.
which means like, are they? I would assume then that is where they kind of come from. Are they like embedded in IT more so, which would make sense with the volumes of data that come with B2C stuff. I am sure like it's a heavy technology
Yeah.
storage, right? Moving data around, processing it, right? It's much more significant there.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. So let me put it this way. So I think no, that's a very fair question. So at Academy, Martech is still under the technology umbrella.
Yeah,
So Nordstrom had this debate before I joined Nordstrom. Martech was under the marketing umbrella, and then they came to know that hey, this is not just running campaigns and creating HTMLs and anything of that sort. We are trying to talk to our marketing operations team plus the actual data science team and centralized creative content merchandising to several other teams, and then
sure.
we were trying to like I think at Nordstrom there were like close to 125 to 150 attributes from data science at a very deeper level to know the customer so that we can go to the Salesforce or any ecosystem to send a campaign. So they slowly moved the MarTech to the technology umbrella. The similar thing is happening in the academy sports. To your question, it's on the technology side, but they don't want to restrict themselves to just CDP as such. They just want to make sure that hey, we are more than CDP. We are trying to do the digital onboarding at the same time trying to integrate to the actual real-time pre-screening and all these kind of stuffs with our third-party vendors and all those kind of stuffs too. So just for an example here, so academy sports, let's say this is like amazon.com. So if you're going and trying to buy something online or offline brick and mortar, they just want to make sure there are customers are coming to the platform, they're getting some academy specific credit cards, and there is a pre-approval pre-screening checks and all these things are happening
Sure.
so that
Yep.
there are more customers coming to the platform and there is a loyalty base they are trying to grow up. So what I'm seeing there is um, the technology is there, but there is this constant um, combination of both. Hey, marketing is trying into this. Marketing is trying to tap into this technology side. Plus, they are like, hey, we will do more than that. Like we are trying to do proof of concept on several other platforms, like not just email or push, SMS or several other platforms as well. So what I'm seeing is it's a combination of both uh, technology plus there are a lot of innovative element happening there, and that's the reason it is like it's no longer on the marketing side. They are trying to hey we are going to go into this one Mailchimp or Mobile Inc. and all these things. So now we have become a one-stop shop there. So that's the culture where it's very open-minded and trying to do this innovative stuff there at Academy Sports.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I probably have a tendency to lean towards wanting more control over it, tied to the marketing, right, and the experimentation and all that. At the
Correct.
same time, I think it almost doesn't matter if you've got the right structure. It's kind of like the decision about where do BDRs roll up into, right? Do they roll up to a marketing function or a sales function? And it kind of depends on where the best person is to manage that team, who has the best experience and best chance of making them successful. I think the technology
Correct.
for marketing kind of probably fits in the same thing, right? If you've got a strong IT team, and I mean, just knowing what I know, and it's a little bit old about the technology that is required for the volumes of data that are out there with consumer stuff, right? Is
Mhm,
just
mhm.
it's huge, right? And just managing that is a heavy
Correct.
technology one as opposed to what you do for B2B standpoint, right? Which has a lot of data, but like not even
Correct.
close. Well, so
Correct.
I want to get
Totally
into a
agree.
little bit more. I mean, you've sort of touched on this, and I think we talked about it in the context of Nordstrom when you were there when we first talked. But um, you've done work where you've done customer journey mapping, and then segmentation, kind of related to that. Maybe two parts, right? One, maybe you could do it in the context of the Nordstrom one, but like, what are some of the things that why do you think that's important for marketers and maybe marketing ops teams to be focused on, and what do they like, what are some of the things that maybe cause them to not do it well? I mean, I suspect a lot of people say they want to do customer journey mapping and they do something that is maybe not as useful as it could be. I think the same thing happens with personas because there's so many different
Mhm.
meanings of what that is. But
Agree. Agree. Yeah, yeah. So let me try to synthesize this, right? So I think the question is, why is customer journey important, and how is Martech, Ops team is going to help you to design a campaign or to design a omni-channel kind of a journey for a customer coming into this retailer ecosystem, whether it's Nordstrom or Academy Sports, right? Yeah. So to the first thing, like to the first point, like why is customer journey important? So I'm going to come up with an example instead of vague explanation. So at Nordstrom, there are like close to 35 to 45 million or something like that Nordstrom rack and Nordstrom full price active customers. I'm saying just active customers. So most of the customers, and Nordstrom had these different tiers called ambassadors, icon, influencer, and member for all the customers there. So
sure,
ambassadors are the one who create all these. They are the ones who generate more revenue to the Nordstrom ecosystem, whether it's digital or brick and mortar, and icons fall next. Now, what happens is Nordstrom had this interesting customer option where they can purchase a Nordstrom credit card, and if you purchase a Nordstrom credit card, you can shop in Nordstrom stores and you get extra discount, and you can like a Costco credit card, you can shop it at any other place as well. So Nordstrom credit card customers have an option or a luxury to get into the preview of all the early sales and anniversary sales, Thanksgiving sales. They get a privilege. They get this red carpet kind of a privilege where they
right,
can access this Nordstrom thing, and then they get a lot of discounts. Plus, there is a special treatment there. And Nordstrom is famous for customer experience. It's the one thing we use
absolutely, yep,
for sure, right? So that being said, so the customer journey, the puzzle we were trying to solve there was, I think some of the customers who were purchasing Nordstrom credit card, there is an active churn happening every 2 3 months. They're just signing up, they use the credit for a month or so, and then they are no longer seeing any values, and they are like trying to trying to call the customer support, and they're trying to disconnect the credit card or just disable it. So now that there is a loss, there is a churn happening, and then we just want to make sure that we are going to fix that leaky bucket there, leaks there. That's one thing. And then the second thing is we just want to make sure that our loyalty platform, our loyalty customer base is growing, and then that's going to help the Nordstrom in general, because Nordstrom got into the different kind of a business, ad business as well. Nordstrom merchandising kind of a platform, where
okay,
Nike shoes can be advertised on Nordstrom platform as well. That's a kind of a different channel, different experimental approach they tried. So you just want to make sure all these top tiered customers are into this platform. So to your question here, now earlier the project, like before I joined, or the project before that, the before image was, we didn't have any idea about these credit card customers, why the churn is happening, because this was all managed in a different department, and this is all managed from a different system called Chase and Fiserv and all these kind of bread
sure,
financials and all these kind of systems.
yep,
Now, Nordstrom at the central, they're like, hey, whether it's Nordstrom rack or full price, I'm going to see how can I bring this to the actual centralized ecosystem and kind of tie it up to the actual campaign we have here, so that there is no, so that we can reduce the churn. I still remember the numbers. I think 29% of the customers do disable the credit card within 3 months or so. And
okay,
then our VP, they were like, they came up with this interesting demand impact number, which is like For every month, if you tap into this customer base, at least 1 or 2 percentage from this 29% slowly, like I think within 1 or 2 years, they found out like close to 300 to 400K EBIT just for a month or so. So there is a huge potential here for this credit card customers, because Nordstrom had this ambitious plan to tie all these digital offline stores, and then they just want to make sure credit card customers get this privilege too. So I think in that case, to your question, tying back to the original question, we didn't have any idea. It was a totally black box to us. Why are these customers getting churned and what's happening there? So we just
Sure.
want to make sure we are building the centralized ecosystem, not running a usual welcome journey or a warm up journey. We just want to make sure, hey, these are some of the privileges we have here. These are the early preview access to the Nordstrom platform. And there is this the actual tailoring shop available in Nordstrom where you can go and tap into. So we were trying to treat them in a different way. At the same time, we were trying to mix them with other kind of customer segments and tap into those kind of attributes, and then run a very personalized, hyper personalized campaign there. That's, I think, from that standpoint, customer journey is very important. We can, so that way we can understand how the customer and the day in the life is going to come into this ecosystem, and what are the attributes we can tap into for journeys. First one. Second thing is, we have all these system. Our VP always says that Salesforce, I think it was $12 million for 3 years or something like that. That was a contractual value or
Right.
the amount we used to pay for Salesforce. So we just make sure that we tap into that value and then get these customers, and then making sure the marketing message, like our systems are going to enable them, and then so the customer life cycle value, the CLTV number is stronger enough for these kind of newer customers. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. There needs to be a financial tie. So, but,
right.
I guess I'm missing the a little bit. So I get right. You were trying to, if I summarize it a little bit, you were trying to identify what was the journey for those who eventually became credit card customers, and then why did the ones that churned quickly, why did they churn quickly, right? So did you go through a process of mapping out that journey? Is that what you did to try to identify where those leaks were happening, as you said?
Yeah, yeah. So now what happens is, whenever a customer buys a credit card, now what happens is, for the first 2 or 3 weeks, there are some discounts given to the customer. And after a month or so, it becomes dried up. And then they are like, hey, I'm not seeing any values out of this credit card stuff. So I'm going to disconnect or, disable that. That's one thing. And then how do we find out all these stuff is through the third party? That's a good question. Sorry, I missed that part. So from Pfizer and Chase, there are two different credit systems. We were trying to tap into all those data and then stored into the credit card data warehousing platform there. So we were trying to get into those kind of platform, and then the data attributes, trying to see, hey, when is this credit card customer signed up? Is there a real time pre-screen or all those things showed up? If that is the case, why there is a delay? Why did the customer again call within 15 or 20 days? So that it's a 0% one, 0% interest rate, and all those kind of stuff. So we were trying to have a survey for all those kind of dropped customers, and then trying to tap into those values, unstructured data, and then get into this Nordstrom ecosystem to make sure that we are running some filters on top of those kind of survey data, so that we can run a omni-channel journey based on that. So that being said, I think to your question, I think we were trying to get this data from survey through third-party system and everything through Pfizer and Chase, and then tying it up with the actual purchase data and transactional data in the centralized system.
Okay. So did you what did you end up doing? Did you build out some new, like change something about how that onboarding and post, yeah, you called it a purchase, but like post sign up, I guess, like for the card, how that happened?
Correct. Yeah, so that's a good point. So I think what we were trying to do is, this was treated pretty independent, Michael. Like the Nordstrom credit card customers, they were not into this ecosystem. So Nordstrom had this terminology called Nordy Club for all the
Yes.
loyalty customers.
Well, I'm
So they
familiar.
are like,
Yeah.
hey, yeah, so they are like, hey, first thing I'm going to try is, this is again a combination of business, both more of strategic decisions. So they just want to make sure that by default, if you're buying a credit card, you're going to participate in the Naughty Club. That's one thing. And then there was a welcome journey that was going in, and then there was like another, as part of the welcome journey, we didn't want to do just a mundane. hey, welcome to this Nordstrom platform ecosystem, Nordstrom retailer thing, and just 15% sale or something like that. We just want to educate them and give them several other privileges, like, hey, you get an early access to the anniversary sale and the account privileges and all those kind of stuff. So, in a nutshell, we were running a 30-day customer journey, email and push combined. This was developed in Salesforce Marketing Cloud Journey Builder. So I
Okay.
was the one who was working with the credit card, Nordstrom credit product managers, and then the actual marketing strategy directors and leadership here, and then the content team in terms of how can we make sure that the actual credit product plus the content is king these days, plus the strategy aligned for these newly joined credit card customers and run a very smooth 30-day journey. I think we had six emails, one transactional email, just for six promotional emails, one transactional email if a credit card customer goes and activates a card, and then couple of push messages along with this. So this is purely omnichannel, email plus push combined. Plus there is a transactional.
Push meaning SMS, text.
Yes,
Okay.
mobile push. Not SMS. This is the usual
Oh, through mobile app messaging. Okay, got it.
mobile app messaging one. That is how we started, and this was an MVP. And then the initial numbers look good, Michael. Like in the sense, after 2 weeks, like what I'm trying to say is sixth week. At the end of sixth week, which means we'd have done with 1 month of campaign, and then the second week of the next month, we were trying to do this readout to the leadership team, and we were just going with this actual metrics. So this is an interesting one. I just want to bring this up here. So we were looking at the click-through rate, unsubscribe rate, all these kind of things, but those
Sure.
are vanity metrics. But we just want to make sure that how many of these credit card customers are just actually going to the click or whatever the CTA button, and they are actually going to the ecosystem Nordstrom.com or Nordstrombrand.com and doing this purchase, so that all the URL variables, everything connected. At the same time, or even brick and mortar, Nordstrom, the actual point of sale, and then doing transactions. So the numbers where we were struggling to connect those dots, but we were there trying to see how the actual conversion numbers are going to look like. But the goal is to reduce the churn from 29% to 26 or 25 in next 6 months or so, so that we
Okay.
can get into this EBIT value there. So we did this combination of both, like strategy plus the landing page, sorry, the content portion, as well as the touch, like the email. Why 6 or 7 emails? Why not 10? Why not 6? There were a lot of interesting discussions happen, so that we don't want to bombard them and fatigue them. At the same time, like, we want to make sure that they are on this platform and doing active business.
Gotcha. So
Yep.
you talked about tying that reduction in churn rate to
Correct.
EBIT, right? So EBIT meaning earnings before income and
Yes.
tax, right? Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to remember my finance terms here. Um, so when you were reporting on it, like how did like did you even talk about? Did you talk more about the financial impacts of the work done, or did you talk about the change in churn, or did you talk like you mentioned vanity metrics, which I kind of recoil at these days because I actually think that they've been given a bad name because people call them that, and I think they're still useful
Yeah.
in the right for the right thing, right? They're not ones I would go present to executives, for example,
Mhm.
necessarily, but
Mhm.
um, but like talk me through like how did you connect the dots from here's what we did to here was the outcome, especially how you communicated it to like people who are less familiar with yeah, what you were doing or what marketing like what marketing's role is, I guess even.
Yeah, sure. So I think I have some numbers here. So I don't want to rush this one up. So I'm going to slowly walk you through the numbers. So vanity metrics, like, sorry, yeah. So the click through metrics on subscribe rate is still good. Like, we don't want to, it's pretty directional. Like, it's going to give us some directions. And
Sure.
that was really useful for sure. And then this is how the numbers were, Michael. So on a daily basis, on an average, we were seeing close to 700 to 800 customers joining the credit card.
Okay.
700 to 800 customers. I'm leaving the peak seasons like July, August, anniversary sales or Thanksgiving sales. On an average, 700 to 800 customers across 310 stores. That's kind of an average per year.
Okay.
Now, after this campaign, within 3 4 weeks, this campaign was running for a month, And then at the end of the 30th day, we were like, hey, okay, so let's try to pull some numbers. And then we had to wait for 2 weeks to get all these numbers and going to the actual centralized system. We used to call it as NAP, Nordstrom Analytical Platform. That's where
Okay.
all this campaign data goes back. And there's a semantic layer there where we can pull Tableau reports and all those kind of stuff.
Okay.
So I
So it's
wrote
like a
down.
data warehouse, data whatever,
Correct.
data lake,
Spot
whatever.
on.
Okay.
Spot on. Exactly. It's like a just a one-liner definition of NAP. NAP is more of an in-house CDP built by Nordstrom leadership. Right?
Sure.
Nordstrom
Okay.
CTO had this vision, and they want to connect all this inventory data, sales data, point of sales, and everything,
Yeah.
and bring it to this analytical platform and do AI ML stuff and everything like that. So, because Nordstrom's customer base is huge, the data science attributes are close to 125 to 150-ish, or probably more than that right now. So that's how Nordstrom was planning to do, and that they had this ambitious vision, and that's how it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Okay.
So going back to the numbers, right? So now 700 to 800 customers. So I'm going to be very clear here. So within like 3 to 4 weeks from the day it joined, let's say September 1st, I'm going to start this campaign. And then every day we are going to get these kind of 700 to 800-ish customers on board. Now we could see out of, like we could see close to 80 to 100 customers are moving from member to influencer status. This is all kind of a ballpark demand impact number from our finance team. So which comes to close to 11%. And then we could see close to, I think, 18% of the customers, this is a big number, where they were trying to do greater than $500 transaction in a month, which puts them in a different mode, which is nothing but like they might get into the icon or ambassador kind of a tiered segment
Okay.
too.
Yep.
So if you see this, right, I think I still remember the day it went live. This campaign went live exactly on October 31st of 2022, because that's the Q3 end date. The Q4 starts from November 1 and then it goes until Jan. And then
Okay.
we want to make sure that this campaign goes at the end of the Q3 so that we can reap the benefits during Q4, and then we can have a good holiday season numbers and then the profits and all those kind of stuffs too. So that being said, like if I just do a math, I think there were some numbers taken. Like I think if we like close to like when I say 18% of the numbers, it came somewhere around 1.8 million-ish or something like that for those kind of the overall customers for that particular month. So that's the kind of ballpark we got from the finance team. But this campaign was a big hit. And then from the tech standpoint, we added two new data science attributes, which is, hey, how many of these rack CC credit card customers 0 to 6 months are doing some transaction, and Nordstrom full price customers doing some transactions. And then from the Nordic Club standpoint, this is where it's getting interesting, where for every dollar spent after some certain threshold, you get 2 points per dollar spent or something like that. So this is kind of a flywheel. If you see this, there is this 700 to 800 customers joining on a daily basis, close to 54 out of 700 800 customers are moving from member to influencer, so that's a good
Yeah.
jump. And then there is and that's one number, and then the second number is like close to 1.8 million. That's an interesting one, where it's not just influencer icon plus ambassadors are contributing that too. So that is like within the Q4 we could achieve the number, and that's one interesting stuff too. So from the finance standpoint, we could see that there is some traction happening there, and there is lesser churn just because we released it a pre-holiday season. That might be one of the interesting strategy as well.
Yeah.
So from the qualitative standpoint, we were seeing more stickiness where the credit card customers are going to the actual Nordstrom.com and rack, and we are trying to we could see some optimizely metrics there from our tech team to find out, hey, there were more stickiness for these kind of credit card customers because we had all these URL metadata on that
Sure.
stuff for those
Yeah. Yeah.
customers too. Yeah.
Okay.
And then since we launched it pre-holiday season, we could see there are more stuff happening. But in hindsight, what I would do that is, I think instead of 6 to 8 different emails plus push combined, we should have reduced it to close to 5 different topics or 6 different topics. I I found out as an little or little overwhelming with the 8 different topics and 8 different email contents and push combined. I think we should have reduced it to 5 or 6 different topics. But again, that is just an experiment.
uh, a
Yeah,
little more specific to those.
yeah.
So I'm curious. So you talk about this revenue impact. How do, like is there any? I mean, it's hard enough in B2B to do attribution, yeah, with complex sale or something like that. But so you got the added challenge here where you've got brick and mortar retail stores in addition to online purchasing. How do you like what don't you have to go into a lot of detail, but like how did you try to connect the dots between the online, I'm sorry, in-store purchases with those new new customers or converted customers?
Yes. So the question is, how do I know that these are newly credit card customers who are doing transaction compared to the existing customer?
Well, no, like how do you know that they're doing a transaction in the store? And I guess I'm thinking about like if they obviously if they use their credit card, I assume their new credit card, that's easily trackable. But then how do you do it if they choose to use a different form of payment um, in a store?
No, that's actually a good one too. Yes, there is some percentage of data where customers do use a different credit card, although they have a Nordstrom credit card. That's something. Yes, that's there is always that percentage, but I don't exactly recall that percentage. But now what happens is, even from the customer standpoint, Michael, within 90 days, if you do a purchase in general, whether it's a Nordstrom credit card or any credit card for that sake, I bought Alaskan Airlines. I received 40,000 miles if I spend some X amount of dollars within the first 3 months. So I did tap into that reward stuff. I got 40,000 bonus miles and I had a trip too. So likewise, I think Nordstrom had this where for a Nordstrom customer who was shopping during the holiday season, the Nordic Club points, as I said before, for every $1 spent, there is like 5x dollars kind of returns. That's one thing. And then the second thing is for Nordstrom credit card, since there is this, I think this is more of Chase slash the finance side of the business where there is like 0% APR or something like that connected to it. So they just want to tap into that and then see it. So,
Sure.
so I
Well, it
think
sounds like
those,
the connection between the credit card and that person as a loyalty
yes,
person, like
yes,
that's the glue that can really
correct,
do it. So it makes
correct.
sense. Okay,
Yes, I think the first one point is more on the finance side, and I think as an outcome, we could see that hey, the Naughty Club points are growing for these credit card customers. Plus, we could see all these stickiness happening, plus all these purchasing behavior for these newly joined credit card customers too. Yep, spot on. Yep, that's right.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and I mean, I know personally, like there's at least one retailer, probably more than one, but one in particular that I think of when I think of this kind of thing, where like I get a ton of value for the trade off of letting them know what I'm purchasing and using it
Mhm.
because they are regularly providing
Yeah,
incentives to me, right?
yeah,
Discounts
yeah,
and points that go towards
yeah,
purchases, and to the point where like any given purchase, which I don't do a
yeah.
lot of, maybe once a month, once every 2 months. It's not super infrequent, but it's not like every day kind of thing. But I can get in some cases 20% off of a total purchase, like any given one. Like
Yeah.
it's worth it. So and
It's
it's
totally.
like yeah, it's not tied to a card I use. It's tied to me being saying, oh, this is me, right?
Yes, yes. No, spot on. I think I'm just trying to relate this to an example which is happening at academy sports, where I think by default we are working in a situation where we are trying to auto enroll customers into a loyalty customer base, and then non academy is also trying to come up with this academy specific. It's called co-branded credit card, where they are trying to have a tie-up with Mastercard and then
Yeah,
try to all academy sports cards which are normal cards or customers are normal card customers are going to move to this co-branded credit card where you can use it anywhere. At the same time, we just want to auto enroll them into the loyalty platform. So
sure.
Nordstrom had this special thing too. Naughty Club, the way they treat the Naughty Club reward points and everything is very different too. And then there is this, it's more of a gamification kind of stuff, right? And even Academy Sports, like for every $500 spent, I think we get a $25 rewards or something like that, where a customer can use, customer can share with the friends, families. Nordstrom is very famous for that, where you get a lot
Yeah,
of preview sales and everything. So that's I think it was not just So this is where it gets interesting, where it was not just financial metric. They just want to align this to this overall vision of customer obsession and experience. And
Sure, sure.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, I don't know why this popped in my head, but I remember back in the day when I was a consulting, I traveled a lot back and forth to Houston from Dallas, and so the easiest way to do that was on Southwest Airlines. The Southwest Airlines back in those days, this was pre 9/11, so you could literally they had so many flights going back and forth. They still do that. You could literally walk up. They had kiosks, kind of like an ATM, where you buy a ticket, like
yeah.
in person, right? You don't have to have a reservation. They called it a quicket. Um, and every one of those tickets, you know what it had on it?
Uh-huh.
A drink coupon.
Okay.
Every one of them. And if you were a loyalty member, right, the Rapid Rewards,
Uh-huh.
every time you had, I think it's 10 segments, you got a book sent to
Mhm.
you with another
Yeah.
10 drink coupons. Like I had so many drink coupons. Like I would literally like me. I was traveling a lot with two other guys back and forth to Houston to a client site from
Uh-huh.
Dallas, and like we would get to the airport on Fridays, and we would just give people drink coupons because we could never use them all. I flew all my wife's friends in to Dallas one time, and they all got sent a book of drink coupons because they flew. That was when Southwest couldn't fly. You couldn't fly into Dallas from many places directly,
Agreed.
so they'd had to do stops, and so like, but it's great like that. So it was like for me, it was almost worth it not to have a reservation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I think Southwest is famous for that. I think they were the ones who came up with this interesting stuff even before customer experience. Now we are for the past 10 years we have been talking about this customer obsession and topic. Yes, Amazon's goal was customer obsession from day one, but I think Southwest Airlines were so ahead of the curve. They were doing all these kind of interesting stuffs. And right now, like I think I can see almost every single company is trying to have this kind of an Amazon effect where hey, I'm going to pamper the customer and then put them into this different mode where they can continuously come and shop, and they just want to have this brand as kind of a mental like tick mark in their brain, like hey, for any academy, for any sports kind of a sports material kind of a shopping, I'm going to go to Academy Sports.
Yeah,
For anything luxury retail, not luxury, I'm going to put it, like any sort of a good clothes and anything. Like my daughter likes Nordstrom a lot. She continuously shops in Nordstrom.
yeah. Um, I wouldn't say. I mean, my kids do too, but mine tend to go to thrift shopping now. So that's I
I
think the new thing.
I Yes, I go to Kohl's as well. I don't have any preference, but when I was an employee, I used to take my friends to like, hey guys, and my friends used to like that a lot. Like, in that sense, yeah. Then I used to tell them, hey, if you buy a Nordstrom credit card, you get all these kind of an email and everything. And then they're like, oh, we get these benefits, and I try to. It's not about promoting that, but I try to say that hey, there are several different options here. Some Most of them think that it's very luxury retailer kind of thing, but it's Nordstrom Rack is for everyone, like for my kind of a layman, normal customers too.
Yeah. Well, let's
Yes,
let's we're gonna have to wrap it up here, but I want to. There's one thing we can't ignore, right? Which is the impact of
sure.
AI and all this. Like, what are you seeing in this space? Like, that was what you talked about with Nordstrom, and now what you're doing. Like, now what you're doing, but like, how are you seeing like what you did then, right? How do you think it would be different now with AI in the mix, or if at all? And like, where do you see it going?
That's a good one. So, Michael, I'll start with a very basic thing. Like, in the sense, I think at Nordstrom, we were trying to, for most of the content, this was the practice. They try to do A B testing. And then we were running in a journey canvas, and imagine there is a canvas which does this customer journey mapping and everything, and there is an
Sure.
automated email campaign going out there. Now they're like, hey, I have this flash campaign with these kind of apparels and the same flash campaign with blue sorts of whatever, the different kind of a hero image or whatever, and we want the winning version to be done. So I remember Salesforce released a feature called Path Optimizer, where we don't need to manually go and pull the results, do a readout, and then have a forum to discuss that, and then say, hey, A is the winning version. Let's do and paint the picture of A for the future sense. Now, Path Optimizer does everything through AI, like where it can automatically go and collect the data, and then you can set it up whether hey, I want to go and choose based on the hero image, or for a particular CTA button, or for a particular time frame. A lot of options are there, and then that was one of the AI features I started exploring during my Nordstrom days, and I think we did that during my Humanity days as well. So path optimizer, and then the content wise. So this is a very broad question. The AI, so what I'm seeing is there are more and more CDPs coming. I think that being said, I think when it comes to the content side of things, I'm seeing there are more AI innovation happening there. Content is king. So what I'm trying to say is like it's not just dynamic rendering of uh, Nordstrom.com for several different customers. It is just trying to make sure that, hey, do I need to, based on Pradeep's past purchasing behavior, do I need to put a Nike shoes in his homepage or somewhere on the side compared to my wife's shopping behavior, where jewelry or something like that. I just want to make sure that there is a lot of stuffs going on, and then this is going to this there is a lot of burden reduced from these kind of optimizely kind of a platform where AI can do its job automatically round the clock, whether it's holidays or weekends or whatever it is. From the CMS standpoint, the content management system standpoint, that's one
Yeah.
thing I can see there is a lot happening there. But from the data standpoint, I think Nordstrom had this AI ML kind of a data science model. Sorry, I missed that part. So I'll be very specific here. So I think for each segments, men's fashion, women's, kids, and everything, even and for men's, like for apparels and shoes and everything, they were trying to, as I said before, like the Nordstrom credit card. Hey, is this customer a Nordstrom credit card customer? 0 to 3 months, three to 6 months kind of purchasing behavior. So I could see for every single segment, they were having close to at least 15 to 20 or even more than that are kind of subcategory data science attributes, so that we can use it. When I say we, marketing team can use it and run a very hyper personalized campaign. So there is this
Yeah.
constant data science model which is automatically learning based on my purchasing behavior. This was all there in the past, but this is happening a lot these days, and these are kind of custom models too, and we are trying to tap into a third party data. Like it's not just email push. Sorry, I was trying to. There is a paid campaign from LiveRamp too, and there is a direct mail campaign sent from direct mail
Yep.
partners. Blue Core for triggered sense. So there are like several other systems involved. So Nordstrom was like, hey, I'm going to bring all this data. Let me do this ID stitching and then do all these kind of a continuous 24 hours kind of a model. And this model, I think there is a huge data science team doing all this brainy work there. I still remember, and I think we constantly get a request to pipe in these attributes and then send a very omni-channel campaign. I think
Yep.
those are some of the elements I could, on a day-to-day basis, I could witness. But there is a lot going on in the industry from the AI's ML specific for sure.
I mean, this
Einstein.
is the feeling I've got is that some of the AI ML kind of
Yeah,
modeling capabilities are probably ahead of the um, kind of customer facing
correct.
platforms, right? So like most of what I understand about where like content management systems are trying to
Yeah,
do sort of truly hyper personalized content in the moment based on a number of different things going on, not just attributes, right? Is probably, I mean, maybe somebody's out there doing it, and I always underestimate this, but I suspect that it's really expensive to do it,
yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So,
Even, yeah,
but I mean, I think I suspect that's where things are going, right? I think a lot of these, um, like you, when I was in the B2C world, it was I built a data warehouse, right, for connecting with direct marketing. We had data scientists. Today they would be called data scientists. They weren't back then.
yeah,
Who were churning through, and they were like kind of restricted on what they could do based on their capacity and hypotheses and things like that. But that's what I'm really kind of
yeah,
interested to see how things evolve, is what happens with these engines when they can kind of replace some of that hypothesis generation, right? A little bit, right?
yeah.
So anyway, well, listen, I hate to cut it short because this has been a lot of fun. I think people are going to walk away from this going like all this stuff like maybe a little bit scary. Not that they know what's going on when they use their credit cards. If they should probably already know. But anyway, this was a lot of fun, Pradeep. So thank you for that. If folks want to learn more or connect with you or hear about what you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I always call my LinkedIn as my Facebook. So I'm always active. I keep it open for 24 hours. So please ping me via LinkedIn. It's Pradeep Manivannan. It's pretty straightforward. And I haven't updated to my current one, but you can see my Nordstrom and Humanity experience there for sure. And then I'm not actively using Twitter, but I do check once in a while, once in a week or so. But I can share my LinkedIn profile. And then I've written some blogs too, so I can share all those blogs as well. But I'm looking forward to collaborate in the future and then share some more AI related stuff too. The one thing I'm learning from this AI thing is garbage in, garbage out from the data science standpoint. So there are a lot of data coming, and even at Academy Sports, we are like, hey, is this a valid scenario? Is this a valid use case? So there is always this constant debate on this scenario and update because, sorry, scenario and situation because of this uh, third-party system data getting ingested into the platform and all these kind of things. And there are
Sure.
several other players involved. So that being said, AI is going to rule it, and we are forced to get into that, and more companies are investing there for sure. But yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you, Pradeep. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks to our listeners and viewers and the rest of our audience. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for listening and watching. If you have ideas for topics or guests or want to be a guest, you can reach out to Naomi, Mike, or me. We'd be glad to talk to you about that. Until next time, bye, everybody.